Hey guys, it's Aiden, and this is our first Every Which Way ad break. First, some announcements from over here at Every Which Way HQ. Our Patreon is live, and the link will be in our link tree, which you can find on any of our social media at eWhичWay. That's on Twitter, TikTok, Tumblr, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Although Twitter, we're probably going to be leaving soon. We have a $2 tier where you could submit character name suggestions, magic item suggestions, which will be seen in our second season, which is D&D 5th edition, and get shoutouts at the end of the episode. There's a $5 tier, which will have a talk show starting in Season 2 in place of our post-mortems, ad-free episodes, and some random bonuses that will be uploaded intermittently. Already, we have a 2-episode series on our $5 tier where we do a playtest of a one-shot RPG that we created. That series also has a special guest, Adam, also known as the Unhappy Triangle on Twitch and YouTube. And please check out the Patreon and be sure to check him out. He streams Pokemon Nuzlocke every Sunday, and Noah and I are usually a part of those. The $10 tier will have a new audio or video content every month. Usually it'll be gameplay videos with the cast, special one-shots, board game videos, or special insights into our planning process. I'm sure with time and your support, we'll find new things to put in these tiers as well. And if you can't support us financially, then Noah and I also have a YouTube channel called NPA Games with one of our other friends, Prem, where we do full playthroughs of various couch co-op and single-player games and give commentary. If you can also show us support by sharing the podcast or checking out that channel and sharing it with people, that would be amazing. Thank you all for listening and enjoy the rest of the episode. And we are back for another post-mortem, the first post-mortem, if we consider it from the character perspective. And this is another first for the podcast. This is the first time we're recording the post-mortem back-to-back with the episode that finished the hunt. We've never done that before. Usually we wait a week, and it just gives me a little bit more time to plan, and then, you know, it just gives us all time to kind of digest the episode. But we kind of are just jumping straight into it from here because we still have Gio here. So
we're doing it raw.
Yeah.
We are doing it raw. Just real quick. Welcome to Every Which Way, a Monster of the Week podcast where 2 residents of Whichway, Wisconsin become monster hunters to save their town. Used to be 3. Welcome to our next post-mortem episode, after the death of Harvester. This was a completely unexpected turn. So this hunt took a lot of planning. Obviously, we had Gio with us, and Gio was playing the monster, which was a very difficult thing to work with because I had a co-DM. But I think we pulled it off. But anyways, I'm Aiden. I was the keeper for this hunt.
I'm Sam. I play Ian.
I'm Noah. I play Max.
I'm Jared, and I played Harvester.
Oh, the past tense.
Yeah. Good old past tense.
And I'm Gio, and I played the Third Eye.
So yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this.
Let's start with the happy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Brand's death.
I have to say, out of the 3 hunters who I think before we started this hunt, me and Aiden ranked the hunters based off of who was most and least likely to die. We knew Ian there was no way in hell Ian was going to die like during the hunt. I was like so confident in that. And then I initially had Harvester, and then I said this to you in the bathroom. I was so certain that if one of you was going to croak, it was going to be you.
Honestly, I was too, because my plan, the insurance I was referring to was the grenade I got from last hunt, and I was gonna I had a line plan where it's like, if I'm gonna go out, I'm taking you with me, which would have meant nothing in the grand scheme of things, but like it would have been a really cool way to go.
And the the craziest thing is, I think if that fight went in any longer, Max would have just bled out.
Yeah, because I was literally one turn from death.
Yes, I was patiently waiting for the next unstable moment to hit.
Yeah.
Which probably would have been the next or the next 2 turns in my head.
Yeah.
So that fight literally ended at the last possible moment before Max did die.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But yeah, why don't we kind of go through some of the other stuff from this hunt and talk about kind of the planning that Gio and I did? Because this was... We had so many different thoughts on how we wanted to do this. And like, I knew from day one that I wanted it to be some sort of like dream type thing, but we didn't really settle on like the dream world as it stands. And then the idea of the possession was something we kind of went back and forth on a lot. Even that was something that we didn't really have settled. Because we were like, what if we possess them? Then I was like, well, then what do we do with that? You know, how do we work with that? How do we get them unpossessed? Our first idea was you would have to kill them in the dream world to unpossess them in the real world. But if Max killed them in the real world, they just die. So it was very hard to convey that idea. And we didn't really find a solution for that. But when I say that was our idea, I'm not just saying that was our first idea and then we switched it up and then we went with like the going into their trauma. No, that was our idea walking into the first session.
Wow.
When Sam went to grab the string and I did that improv thing where I was just like, you see them in the space and then it loops and all that. And like Sophie, you're going through all of Sophie's trauma. That was just a complete on the spot moment. Cause I was like, I want to reward Sam for doing this. And then I was like, how do I do that? And I was like, I think it's really interesting if while he's possessing them, they're stuck seeing their traumas. They're just reliving all the worst parts of their life. I also thought it was a fun way to get a glimpse inside the hunters' minds. So that just became a complete improv thing that then basically became the backbone for the rest of the hunt and gave us a structure behind it. Because the biggest problem we had when planning this was, not just how to unpossess them, but like, what is the structure of this hunt? What is like, you go here, you go here, you go there, you know? Like in Hunt 2, it was very clear, like, you know, you guys go investigate them all, you come back together, and then like, you guys were like, okay, we'll go back and forth and you'll keep doing that. So like, it obviously takes a different form once the players get involved and you guys make a choice. But like, I have a clear vision of like, here's like the places they should be going. With this, I didn't. I was like, our whole plan was basically Max is just on the run. I don't know where you're running. We had like 3 different plans because you could have ran to Harvester, you could have ran to Ian first, you could have ran to your dad first. And then you chose going to Harvester first.
Yeah.
Which I think was the one we planned the least for.
2 steps behind you.
So we're talking about which part of the hunt again? Oh yeah. So I think initially too so the Harvester Sophie dream at the entrance of which way was supposed to be interchangeable with the death of Bran for the first part, and Aiden and I kind of went back and forth on that, and then Aiden convinced me that it's probably best that we close the end of the episode with, what was it? It was Harvester's dream, right? Yeah. And then we opened up the next episode with Bran's death.
Yeah, so that was actually another big debate we had. And the reason I said we should do Harvester's dream first was, one, because it teases this whole dream world. And I think both for the listeners and for you guys, because you had no idea what was coming, it was like, what's going on? And Jared kept thinking like, oh, it was just like a weird dream. You know, so he thought he was going to wake up at the end of it. So he kept telling me like, oh, I think it'll be cool to go here in town soon and go talk to this person. He really wanted to talk to the mayor this hunt. And if you want to talk about that for a bit, you can.
I did really want to talk about the mayor because you've been like, you got to make more places to do more things. But like, we've done everything with the places that we have so far.
You have.
So I'm like, okay, well, what's a cool character I'd want to see? And I was like, oh, the mayor of this town where strange things keeps happening. Because if you're the mayor, I'm sure you've heard some of these weird things before, like on like internet forums.
Yep.
Like, hey, I think I saw like a leprechaun steal my dog.
Is the mayor on Reddit?
I don't know.
/which way mayor.
Maybe they have a town or city forum. So I figured if I want to find like monsters or a central base or like track a pinnacle location where things are like spawning out from, or a central location where monsters are, I could probably talk to the mayor or go to like the city records or stuff like that.
And so I just kept sitting there and being like, yeah, that's a good idea. That'll happen.
That'll happen next episode for sure.
That for sure can happen next episode. But yeah, so we wanted to tease that, and also I didn't want to do the Bran death because I think, one, obviously we did it here in this episode, but in general, I think it's really hard to react to a death a week later.
Yeah.
or now 2 weeks later because we're recording bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, you see Bran's death, and then I'm just like, and the episode ends. Bye bye.
That would have been crazy.
It would have been very hard for Noah as Max to just jump in and immediately be grieving, which I think we can do. Yeah. Like, I'm sure we can do it, but I just didn't want that to be like the first thought. And second, I just really wanted to see immediately what Max would do in that moment. And so I didn't want it to be like, and we see Bran's death, and then it stops, and then we see the dream, and now all of a sudden there's a dream world. Like, I like the teasing that earlier, and then immediately going into where does Max go next.
Right.
And yeah, you chose Harvester. I guess you went to Ian anyways, and we kind of had that scene play out. But that's also why in the dream sequence, you hear me say a string falls towards the bar.
Right.
Because that is happening concurrently. Bran is dying while Harvester's in that dream.
The reason I went to Harvester first is because Max is like, oh, the important people in town are being possessed. I'm going to go try and at least unpossess the two ones that could kick my ass.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good thought.
That was another thing I had to actively think about, which is why are you guys not possessed? Max and Harvester. Yeah. Ian, we can be like magic and ghost and shit. But Max and Harvester, why? You guys got magical pens. And that was the original reason why I gave them. And then I was like, but they won't know that. So I want them to have a reason to have them. Mm-hmm. So I made it so you guys can find each other with that, because you guys always get split up. And I think it's a fun way to reward you, but also be like, yes, those enchanted pens were basically a right around to the fact that we were like, why are you guys not possessed? Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if that'll come and play again as long as you have them.
I do like the fool idea, though, because I know at one point the third eye was like, oh, because you're like too stupid to be possessed.
Yeah, and so then we did a couple of different trauma sequences.
Obviously, thanks to you for just improvising that on the spot. Thank you for giving us a fucking structure to this hunt, because we had no fucking...
Yeah,
the second you did that, Aiden and I, you know how me and Aiden were fucking always scheming on the laptop? Aiden typed that out. Aiden was like, I think this is how we do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is how we do it. We were like,
yeah, I had no idea that was improv.
Yeah, no, that whole thing was improv and basically changed the shape of the hunt.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean when I say that, like, you guys completely influence everything that will happen in a hunt. Every decision you make, like, I go into it with an idea. I am not firm. I am not solid on my idea as just this is the way it will happen. The moment you guys open your mouths, expect things to shape into the world that you are creating. And I don't want you to ever feel like, obviously, like, there are some rails just because we're trying to tell a narrative and stuff like that. But for the most part, I don't want you to feel railroaded, because I will just like change things so that it fits your world. And so that's what I did. And thank God, because I think it made it way better. And I think we got a glimpse into like a lot of different characters.
Yeah.
So with Sophie, Sophie was tricky because originally I wanted it to be my first idea for Sophie's regret was going to be a scene where Harvester is basically packing up and like gearing up to go on his first hunt. And I wanted it to be a scene where Sophie's like arguing with him to just stop and don't do this. You don't need to do this. And her regret was not being able to stop Harvester from going down this rabbit hole in the first place. And the only reason I didn't end up going with that is because it wouldn't have been something that you guys could really solve. And I was like, I don't want the first one to be something that you guys like aren't really actively solving. So then I went with the one where they're in the funhouse. That was mostly just because I remembered Harvester saying in the second episode after he runs into that wall, he goes, well, we've done it before. So then I introduced a scene where Harvester runs into a mirror. And that was basically the backbone of that entire regret. And then I wanted it to also be something where it's Sophie's guilt behind it. Yeah, and then we went through Bill's. Bill's was fun because I didn't know what the monster was going to be. And then I was like, what if it's literally nothing?
That's good.
What if it's just a void?
I love that.
Which also means we don't know what the fuck happened to Max's mom. Probably won't get answered. But I just think it's really funny that it's just this sphere of nothing. But also, like, that's terrifying to me, at least, as a person.
For sure.
Like, imagine just getting sucked into nothing forever.
See, I imagined like a big like fuzzy like mist that's like just darkness, but like you can like very faintly see like an eye, a mouth, and like horns, sort of, and just getting pulled into that. Sounds
That's
like
cool.
nightmarish.
Yeah, no, I actually love that. So the thing is, like, I think each person has their own idea. Like for me, I just almost pictured it like just like a smooth, pure blackness that just like it's just basically just this thing that you like. You know when you see something really dark and it's almost like you don't look like you're looking at an object. It just like looks like you're looking into an empty space because it's so dark, but it's actually just a thing that's there. That's kind of what I'm picturing, where it's like a sphere, but it almost looks like you're looking down like this long, just like space.
I pictured the Valorant ult orbs when you were like describing it.
It's
That's insane.
Stuff like that is so much more nightmarish than thinking of like a moving skeleton or like a snarl tooth monster, because it's like it's not like something imaginable. It's like that is like when I think of like Eldritch horror, like that's the type of shit. Like like a moving black sphere of nothingness is like more terrifying than like a monster. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this stuff was hard to write for because it was basically like writing like multiple mini hunts.
Yeah.
Just little like 20-minute hunts, which was interesting. Then we had what I think was my favorite scene from the hunt, which was the Sheriff Payne stuff. That was something that Gio and I came up with like 3 days before. Or no, we came up with it the week before.
Guys, I remember we were sitting in your room, and I was like, "What if his regret is just like letting Max go?"
Yeah. So our original idea was going to be and this is something we need to talk about because this is the funniest thing ever. Our original idea was going to be a palate cleanser scene where Sheriff Payne's regret was going to be something stupid as fuck.
Okay.
As just a way to be like, we need something lighthearted to happen because it's just the darkest thing we've done so far. Yeah. And so I was like joking with Gio and I was like, what if we just have it so like it's like, you know, career fair or like career day, like
Becoming a cop?
or like bring your dad to work day, to school day. And like he's at like an elementary school and there's like a bunch of kindergartners and he's like, yeah, so I'm the sheriff of the town. And then one kid runs up to him and goes like, mister, I think that one stole my toy. And then like he goes on like a whole little murder mystery, but it's just to find which kid stole the other kid's toy. And you guys were going to have to solve the murder mystery. And his regret was going to be blaming the wrong kid.
That's insane. That's just deep, traumatic. Oh my god.
And he's just constantly reliving it.
Oh, that's funny.
And the idea I had was like, well, wouldn't it be funny if the only reason he could never find the toy was because I kept going in there and moving where it was every time?
That's so funny.
And so that was our original idea for the hunt. And then I was like, this might be too silly.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And then Gio was like, yeah, what if his regret is just never or letting Max go back and living with his dad? And I was like, that's perfect. And then we just talked about like, how do we solve this? And then it was literally like, we were just like, yeah, what if he just shuts the door?
Yeah.
What if
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It also gave us baby Max.
Yeah.
It did. And I did want to find a way to put young Max into it. So that's why they were in the elementary school, was because I was going to make young Max one of the kids.
That's
and
really
he was
funny.
going to work with Sheriff Payne to solve it.
I want to say, I've loved the voice, but it's so inconsistent. Oopsie.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fun.
I clicked racks.
And yeah, so I think that became some of my favorite stuff from the hunt, was just also because Noah didn't know we were going to do that.
You know what the crazy thing is, though? I kind of did. You didn't say anything, but I'm like, I feel like Sheriff Payne's drama has to do with Max.
I think it's okay because I know I never mentioned it to you directly, but we were like, yeah, I hope we get to do like Sheriff Payne's one. And you're like, I bet I'm in it.
Yeah, because like I'm like. Because like when I was driving to the record that day, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna be in it, so I kind of want to prepare something for the voice.
And I guess that leads to the other part of the episode, which was Dakota dying.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I didn't.
I'm responsible for 4 people dying.
You did a whole thing by yourself.
The alligator
Brand,
at the be-
Dakota. The alligator person at the beginning.
Yeah, alligator person at the beginning. I do. Brand, Dakota, and now Harvester.
So Dakota dying was the other part, because that's the opening of the episode.
Yeah.
And we really had to figure out, how do we make this whole situation okay or not okay? But how do we resolve this whole situation? And so what we decided, what I was basically pushing for was, if you succeeded that role, Sheriff Payne would be unpossessed.
Wow.
And the entire Max scene would never happen. The reason being, the hand in the sky that had 5 fingers, that was the maximum number of people that he could possess at any one time. And whenever you severed one of those strings, he could not possess another person.
Oh.
So what was going to happen was he was going to stop possessing Sheriff Payne and start possessing Liam again.
Interesting.
Because Liam was the ultimate target for this. And so we were going to have Sheriff Payne just be unpossessed and then run out and be like, because I knew you were going to be like, monsters are real.
Yeah.
So it was basically going to be your success and an advanced success because that makes them become an ally. Sheriff Payne's going to run out and be like, Max is telling the truth. And then Dakota would become another ally. And then we'd have a crazy lineup.
Crazy.
So it would basically be like a crazy 1v5 where it was Dakota, Luna, you, and Payne, and Sean. Sean was going to come in.
Yeah.
Sean's
like, one of the parties disappeared. I'm here to help.
all doing basically just fist fighting the third eye.
That would have been crazy.
And like he was going to be able to fight all of you because he has thousands of years of experience. So that was the idea if you succeed. And then if you fail, Dakota dies.
Wow, what a game changer.
If you get a mixed success, you would get arrested.
That would have not been fun.
So the reason we had all of those laid out was because I knew we needed to do crazy things with all of them. But yeah, there was basically an alternate reality where we never got that Sheriff Payne scene because you wouldn't have had to unpossess him. And that was something Gio and I kind of argued about a lot because Gio really wanted the scene. And I was like, we could just let it lie though. Like, I think one of the biggest things is like your roles matter. And sometimes we just have to scrap things because the role says no.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, thank God you
I'm
failed.
so glad I failed that role.
But the other big thing with the reason we wanted young Max in it is because if you did go to jail, we wanted a way for you as a player to interact with the story still in the episode and not just sit out an entire episode. So we were like, what if young Max is in the dream? But yeah, that's most of the planning. Before I get into anything else, I want to hear from you guys because I've done my piece. What is all your favorite moments?
Well, I just want to say we found out Harvester's real name.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. And then I thought the third eye's name was going to be like Puppet Master or something.
That's kind of when we went over. I think we had that conversation maybe once, and we were like, "Is he ever going to have a name?" And I was like, "No, I think just calling him the Third Eye sounds really cool." But we kind of always operated on the assumption that he's a Puppet Master type. I think it would have been sick if we called him the Puppet Master, but I think just calling him the Third. I think the implication of him as like a Necromancer Puppet Master is already kind of cool enough on its own.
For sure.
Favorite moment for you?
Oh, that's really tough, honestly. There were so many good moments. All my constant bickering with the third eye is up there, honestly. I was going to say, the moment in the RV, maybe, where I ignored everyone else and just started yelling at the third eye again. Young Max was another one. Shit, it's so hard to choose a favorite.
Gun in the Mouth was very good.
Gun in the Mouth.
Gun in the Mouth was
top
so
tier.
good.
Honestly, Gun in the Mouth also up there.
For me, I feel like it was when we were in Bill's trailer, Ian and I, and then I got taken to the other place. Because I did like that because you opened the portal for the first time, and then we affected each other for the first time.
I opened the portal.
Yeah, because I shot at you, remember?
So that was a scene that Gio and I planned that morning.
Yeah.
We were basically on the phone while you guys were walking in. If you remember, I was hiding in the corner and
That's right.
I kept telling you, go on.
Uh-huh.
Because Gio, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were like, we need to do something to get Harvester and I to talk. Because we haven't had that scene.
I
already
had that scene with Ian.
Yeah, because Gio had that scene with Ian. Gio obviously has had plenty of scenes with Max for that, but he's never had a moment with Harvester, and we knew it would be something that's fun because those characters would bounce off of each other in a really good way. So Gio was like, what if I take him to my throne room, my place? And then...
That's what I was going to say, because I thought it was really cool how, first of all, you open the portal, so I'm like, oh, he can do that now. And then that's when I was like, we're going to get out of here. Because I was like, oh, if you can open a portal and you're juiced, then you can maybe do that too.
Yep.
And then we had the mini fight where I couldn't hurt you, but I was just throwing the razzle dazzle on you, you know, getting you prepared for what was going to come.
Yep.
And then you brought me to the throne room. Sorry. But then in the throne room, I did not think to investigate a mystery at first. And then I was just listening to him talk, and like real me was like, oh my God. I was like, what's around here? So then I was like, wait, I can just actively like do that gameplay wise.
Yep.
And then I did, and then I got my spear.
Yeah, and so
And then I was like, I'm gonna follow you. This is your house, but you're in here with me.
So I did say in that episode it came early, but yeah, I always had the intention to do the light at the end of it, where whatever weapon you imagine, because I wanted a way to reward you guys and give you magic weapons before what may or may not be the finale. I'm not sure. It depends on player action.
My favorite part had to be mentioning the frozen lake as like an arena battleground, and then it actually happening, and then everyone's sliding everywhere.
Yep.
Yep. That was awesome. It's so good.
Actually, I'm actively pointing towards Max right now. You made us jump maybe 20 minutes into the future when you drove onto the lake, because I remember the time when we started recording that episode and Noah was like, oh, I'm going to drive to the lake. Aiden and I looked at each other and we crawled over, and I remember Aiden going, better get ready.
I literally tapped his leg and just went, get ready, bud. Because that was the moment that we were trying to figure out, when is this final fight going to happen? You know, how are we going to get there? What's going to happen? And then you just did it.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, we're here now. We knew we were going to be at the lake, and you just went there.
Yep.
Oh, well, that also explains why they were trying to possess you in the first place. Because the reason, I think I might have mentioned this before, but the whole reason why the possessed people were coming for you in the first place was they were going to bring you to the lake. And then that's basically, the lake was kind of the centerpiece for everything, because we wanted to make it so that, because if you remember, where Ian is fighting in the dream world against the third eye is the lake, because that's basically where he resides and has resided for the past 750 or whatever years. It's just in the fucking bottom of that lake, and then that's where everything kind of goes to hell.
Oh.
So that's
I
where
woke him up with my mattress.
you woke him up. You woke him up.
Oh my God, could you imagine how cool it would be? It's like, oh, I believe you wanted this back. Just drop the flop soaking wet mattress on the lake.
And we talked about it before, but like I don't know when we started planning the final fight, but Aiden and I again had that conversation. We mentioned it to you guys, I think 2 weeks ago, where we were like, it would be really fucking sick if we had the two fights going on concurrently, which we did, and both of them turned out really fucking sick. And the fight in the real world was just Max and the third eye just fucking wailing on each other. And we got that.
Oh,
we
did.
We had plenty of that, which is awesome.
The other thing that was constantly being balanced in that final fight, health.
Oh.
There were 2 third eye health pools, Dream World and Real World.
That's cool.
And the reason I was bouncing back and forth as much as I was because I was trying to get it so they both die at the same time.
Okay, good. Because I
And-
was like, I want to do something.
And Ian was just kicking his ass.
Absolutely.
So the reason I was like, no, it's not your turn yet, is because he was at 2 health at that point, and every weapon you have does 2 damage. So I
Wow.
was like, no matter what, if you hit him, he dies. I have to cut it off here, or he's just going to die in the dream world and still be alive in the real world, and it makes no sense.
It really went
Yeah.
the way we
Um,
thought it would.
And so, yes, I do feel bad that like you didn't get to be in the fight more, but also you just kicked his ass so good.
Yeah.
And
Oopsies.
they sucked so bad.
It was
did.
so perfect.
Because
I think we sucked in style.
it is
I was gonna
poetically
say,
perfect.
I think it went exactly the way we mentioned, because I remember right when the fight started, we were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a Dragon Ball fight in the dream world where Ian's just flying around like doing cool magic stuff, and then Max and Harvest are bumbling around on a frozen lake.
Yep.
Which is why I had to get out of that dream world.
Yep. And
Because I
so,
did not want to stand there and be like, man, I want to be there.
I was like,
which was also something we didn't plan.
You couldn't have. You didn't know what weapon I would take, you know?
Well, no. I mean, we didn't plan for you to be in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just really did good.
yeah.
Yay.
You just didn't stop. You every time you rolled to trap him, he was just stuck, and it's like, well, I'm not going to make you like take damage.
Yeah.
And so Gio texted me this. I texted Gio this morning and I said, so what does the fight with Ian in the Dream Third Eye look like? And Gio said Omni-Man versus Invincible. And my first thought was to text back, so you're invincible, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
So I was like, so we decided to do this last minute. Like we weren't originally going to record today.
Right.
So I was gonna prepare by watching the anime fight scenes on YouTube to see like what moves I should do.
That's so good.
I was gonna think about picking up Jujutsu Kaisen again.
Nice.
That's literally a lot of the real world fight scene. The moves that I made were pulled from the Satoru versus Jogo fight, and then the Todo and Itadori versus Hanami fight.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because
thinking.
that's how I pictured the 2-man fight against the Third Eye as being literally just Todo. It's like the idea of Todo and Itadori fighting Hanami. This is like how I pictured it.
Yeah, the other thing is you also kicked his ass before the fight even started, since you were already attacking him every time he would show up after you found out you could hit him. So he'd already started with a lower health in the dream world.
Can we know how much?
I think I gave 14 each, and he started with 10 in the dream world.
Wow.
Because you'd hit him, I think at that point twice with your claws.
Huh.
So you basically started by just whooping his ass and then continuing to whoop ass for the rest of the time.
Wow. Well,
Floating in the
what
air.
I didn't know if this was gonna be too much, but I wanted to kick you on the way up, so you're like spinning all around.
Oh, that'd be
that would've
so
been so
sick.
cool.
That'd be so sick.
Man, now I'm upset that you didn't leave a corpse, so I couldn't like smash it to pieces with. the
You're
giant
upset.
fist.
Okay.
Well, okay, you died.
Yeah, so getting into me dying, my original plan was to take the eye out of your head and harvest that bad boy.
And eat it.
Or at least one of your eyes, you know? But that didn't happen because I died, which was very unexpected of me. But you just tried to heal yourself and kept making it worse.
Look, I'm sorry. I failed, but that, the fool, so like it's poetic. And we've said that like 3 times.
I think one of the conversations that Aiden and I had going into it was I was kind of worried about not being able to get all 3 hunters kind of their moments. Because I think halfway through the hunt I was like, this is like a really max heavy hunt. And like, oh yeah, you're dead. I was like, man, this is a really max. Oh my god, it's gonna be the first time that you hear both of us at the same time.
Whoa!
I was like, man, this is like a really max heavy hunt right now. Like I want Harvester to get his moments.
I would have done it.
I want like Ian to have their moments. I think I knew Ian was gonna have his moment at some point when we got into the final fight, but I was like, I think one of the big things I was like, damn, how the fuck are we gonna get Harvester like his big moment in this hunt? And it ended with the big Harvester moment.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because basically the entire hunt, we were just shitting on Harvester. Every time we were in a planning stage, we were just like, yeah, and Harvester's just doing nothing in the background like an idiot. That was every joke we had in the planning stage.
I was like, I have to look, because we texted about this so many times.
Yeah,
like,
and because I knew from the start that the dream world was Ian's playscape. That's why I basically, before the hunt started, was like, Ian, take like multiple temporary level ups for while you're in the dream world. And I was just like, this is Ian's time to shine. And we also obviously had the real world, which was Max's thing. And Harvester just gets kind of dragged along while Ian's doing all the cool stuff. Ian's doing.
I do apologize for not being able to bring you in. I wish that our characters.
I don't apologize.
But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it because that moment at the end, I think was like, that was like the cherry on top.
And I think it works so well that like Harvester's just sitting there kind of useless the entire time until he can do one final thing, and it's to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, and I feel like I think I made it work for me. Because I mean, like, I didn't feel like I wasn't having fun during the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I properly encouraged both of you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you could do so much here.
And we bonded.
We did bond. And even in the throne room, no, they didn't hear it. But I was like, if I'm here forever, they'll come get me. They're smart kids.
Aww.
The only thing that sucks is that I think Max and Harvester didn't really interact that much.
Until he sacrificed himself.
Right. So we had our homoerotic scene together.
Right, just not in character.
There's no better place to have that bonding than when you're literally fucking bleeding out, fighting the one thing that you've wanted to fight for the longest time with your bare fucking fists.
Oh man.
Well, I was just going to say, I deliberately also wanted Harvester to be dead.
Yeah.
Not get a dying words, not get a last moment. He died. He exploded and died, and before you got to say anything to him, he died. Because I think it's one of the things that, like, while it's fun sometimes, I think sometimes it just bugs me when, like, every story, the character needs their dying moment and they need their closure. Harvester doesn't get that.
No.
He doesn't get to talk to his sister. He doesn't get to talk to Max. And obviously, we'll see what plays out. obviously there's setting up for a resurrection potentially, but we don't know whether that'll work because Ian has to roll. We don't know whether it'll go through. All of this stuff we don't know. So this might not be the end of Harvester. We have yet to figure that out. But as of right now, Harvester gets no closure with anybody, which I think is good. I think it's fitting. I think it makes sense.
It also makes sense for me.
Yeah, you really piccoloed me here.
I did. I see. I figured that I would like really stand in front, but you're like you throw him back, so he slides across the ice.
Well, the
And I was
standing
like,
in
that
front
does make sense.
If you got burned to a crisp while standing in front of me, I wouldn't have been much better.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was fine with Goku.
Oh no, I love.
I mean, not Goku, Gohan.
Yeah, it would have been.
Or
really
you could have.
funny.
You could. We probably shouldn't go back and re-record it. I don't think we need to. But if you just like put the trench coat around him, as you're.
Yeah, the way I imagined it was I would like flop over him because I had my trench coat on my back. But you didn't say it like that.
Well, because you had to die.
Yeah.
You had to die, and I don't think there's any way, even if you flop over him, that Max would live if you're dying.
Because I also rolled for it too. So.
Right, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
But like, if you just like whip off the trench coat and just put it in front of him, and then he's just seeing you burn up, but the trench coat's fine, so he's fine.
It's like
it's
that.
his little blast shield.
The Wolverine Origins where where Logan's just getting melted by a nuke, and the other guy's just like, oh, like perfectly fine. Like what?
But instead, you saw me get burnt to a crisp, but my trench coat was flapping behind me as I stood there in front of you.
No burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. It was.
But yeah, I did not imagine dying this episode, but I think I did it because I am terrified of what would happen if you died.
Right.
Yeah.
You saved the world, really.
For now.
Max could fuck it up again.
Max could ruin all your
And then
money.
Ian sacrificed
very true.
himself.
But
And
in
then
like
you're the
that
last
would be
man standing.
Nightmarish for Max. Just everyone dying around him. He gets his dad back, everyone dies.
I also think, like, realistically in the story, either Sophie or Harvester had to die. With the conflict that they've had through the entire series, like, both of them have been at odds, like, about the idea of whether they should hunt or die or live. And if they keep hunting, they're going to die. And so I think, like, either Sophie or Harvester had to die. So I think it just works so well, and it was not something I expected walking into this room today.
No. I thought I'd walk out alive, but you know, it'd be like that most times.
Yep.
The officers, and then also we didn't talk about the college dorm.
Yeah.
Man.
Were there
I'm
any
so
students
arrested.
looking out the window like this?
We said that there's a crowd watching this entire thing.
I am so arrested.
Oh, we just traumatized so many people.
Well, they just watched me beat the shit out of a man. Granted, they don't know. They
watched him open portals and grab things and big hands
That's
come
fair.
out and stuff. No, like, we'll obviously resolve all of that.
Yeah.
This isn't just a case of Max is in trouble now. This is a
Okay.
case of now there is a crowd who knows what happened.
Right.
Because Max was already in a police chase,
Yep.
which means I can imagine college students were watching the police chase, and now they're seeing portals open up.
Yeah. Dang, Max is not going to want to go back to that.
If it was a police, okay, for how specific it can get, because it was a police chase, would you say this was also on the news or no?
Probably.
Oh, okay.
In this small of town? Hell yeah. Oh my God. Like, the first police chase in 15 years, everyone.
Let's go, the cops are doing something.
As in the entire police chase and the fight on the ice?
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
They probably were trying to cut the cameras after a certain point in the fight, but
it's after Max takes his shirt off.
They're teaching this in like
What-
schools in 10 years, and it's gonna be like watching 9/11 footage when you were like a kid.
Oh my God. All right, guys. This is the great which way incident of
When they're taking their
23.
monster elective class.
Oh my God.
With my brain damage, I suffered a lot of that, but I died anyway.
Yep.
So you have no brain damage. You just have damage.
Yeah, I have
Damage.
you have brain death.
if anything, I'm beyond death. I'm
Yeah.
beyond damage right now.
You are. You've transcended damage.
But yeah, I was like, did you play Batman Arkham City?
A while ago, yeah.
Do you remember how often Batman like gets hit in the head in that
Yep.
game? That's what I was
It's
thinking the
insane.
entire time. And he does, and I'm like, I got whipped in the head with my spear at least twice.
Yep.
I just bashed my skull against Max's goddamn big head, hard-headed head.
You face planted on
Yeah,
the
I
ice.
face planted. I'm like, he's not walking away with us, making good decisions. But then I died, so.
College students were watching from afar. They watch you faceplant. They go, oh, "What the fuck is that guy doing, bro?"
I imagine like the emotional roller coaster of like, what an idiot! Oh my god, what a badass! Ha! Wait! Oh my god!
Also, the most important thing that didn't make the cut, we had the dream world. This was Prem's idea. The dream world. So instead of which way, we originally called it that way.
That would have been good. That would have been
And
good.
there was going to be a sign that I was going to put in the harvester dream that I was going to be like, you drive past the which way sign and the which way or which is crossed out and it says that.
Oh man, that would have been good.
Something else that I wrote down. My body. So like you were actually in the dream world, right?
Yeah. What?
Because you weren't asleep.
Yeah.
No, Ian was asleep.
So then, Ian's still in there. No, Ian came out. So like, did Ian's body also just?
Ian's body also just disappears.
So like, what? Is there going to be anything further with that?
Sean
watches my body dissolve.
Yeah, everyone's body's dissolving around him.
Max is gonna be so mad at me.
Unless he's also watching the news on Bill's TV.
Sean's just like, I had one job.
I looked away for like 5 seconds.
It's like a sitcom moment when your ghost friend dissolves.
He's like, I shouldn't have gone to get that second snack.
I think that a lot of these questions are things that we will definitely touch on with the next episode because what we usually do after our hunts end is we do our post-hunt wrap-up, which is usually just kind of getting a glimpse into the characters after the events of a thing. And there is a lot of events and aftermath.
That's
We will
right.
probably need to do some discussion before the next episode to figure out exactly how we're going to do this one.
So many people died, and you guys really thought like, man, I feel like we're not affecting the world enough. At least you said that, Gio.
Gio's different.
Oh, wait.
Gio has been having an antagonistic relationship with the players since day one that I've had to temper. Because Gio has been very on the side of, I want them to hurt, I want them to suffer, and I've been like, well, the roles will decide that. That's the roles' job.
My way anyway.
You did. But before we wrap up this postmortem, I want to ask, what were your plans for Bran before I
Good question.
missed my opportunity to save him?
Oh, die.
Okay.
I did not know what would happen if he lived.
Okay.
The original plan was for him to just completely die and you don't get a chance.
Okay.
And then I was like, Gio, that feels unfair.
well, I didn't do anything anyway.
I was like, that feels unfair, but the thing is, we're at the point in the game where you guys need to start making decisions for yourself, so I'm not going to tell you, roll to see if you can save him.
Right.
But if you ask, I would let you.
Right.
Which was a big thing, and I don't feel bad about it because I also texted a paragraph that just said,
Right.
interrupt me to ask because I would rather you do that than we miss a scene. And Noah then didn't interrupt me and ask, so I paused.
You did.
Yep.
And then I re-described him grabbing the head like 3 times. I was like, he grabs his head and wraps his hands around his neck and pulls. And Noah was just still watching. He's like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do?
I will say, so part of me for that is, one, it's like he hadn't done anything like malicious. He hadn't done or said anything malicious, evil, or like outright aggressive yet. 2, part of it is like a separate mindset when it's like a person playing the character rather than like you playing like,
Yep.
like the fact that it was a separate person changed that.
Well,
no,
I was
that's-
the one describing at that point.
right.
Oh, yeah, 'cause you were
That's not it's not more the interrupting thing. It's more like, oh, like another friend is playing this character. It can't possibly be the bad guy. And then 3, I was kind of just like, this feels like not like what was I gonna say? Interlude, like something leading into something, not like the thing, you know?
Oh, I see.
So I was
Oh,
like,
see.
okay, let's see what this is. It's not. Then I was just like, oh.
And I also did ask after that episode, I said, do we want to re-record that so you get a chance to
Yeah.
save Bran?
And I'm
And
like,
Noah said no.
No, absolutely not. Because I think this went the best possible way.
I can't imagine a better way this hunt went from the
Every step.
first moment to the end. I think everything went as perfect as it could have gone.
Yeah.
And none of the stuff that did happen was the way we planned it at all.
Which is amazing.
So that was one of the things I talked to Gio about a lot because, like, not trying to like say anything that's not like fair to either of us, but like Gio was very much of like, we need to plan all of this. We need to plan every step of the way, and I kept to just being kind of the side of like, whatever we plan will not matter the moment they speak. So I'd rather just plan a framework that they can just fuck with than plan every step. And I think before we wrap up, I do want to talk about this, which I want to ask you, Gio. What were your thoughts walking into the second episode? Because in the second episode, I didn't tell Gio anything new since we did our first planning session before the first episode, which means we didn't plan at all. And Gio was like, what's happening? And I was like, no, I'm comfortable. We are fine. And Gio was just like, are you sure? Because I told him nothing. And I didn't really plan much more except what the regret would be.
End of the second episode, or the beginning of the second episode, they had just, what was the end of the first episode? The string, that's when, you were just like, you just gotta trust me. And I was like, all right, here we go then. I mean, I think it just, because I hadn't played a TTRPG since our original Monster of the Week game in 2021. So like this was like, for me, it was like, how do I get back? I think by the end of the second episode, I was like, oh, okay, so this is how we're fucking moving. All right, I can get into this then. So I think by the end of the second episode, I was like, okay, I see how this is moving. And I mean, I told Aiden about this before. Like the third eye as a character was like so much fun to play, and like just so much. It was so cool to like not only see all the things that I wanted to happen with that character go, but how you guys interacted with the things that that happened. I think the first thing I can think of off the bat is just Harvester telling Ian to keep the portal open and then changing pretty much the entire direction of the fight, because I mentioned before we initially had it so that Ian and Harvester were going to be in the dream world, and it was just going to be Max in the real world.
Max was not going to win that fight by himself.
Max was not going to win that fight by himself. But I mean, I think that like a lot of the highlights were just like, like I'm watching you guys react to the fucking disgusting evil shit that I wanted this guy to do. The body staircase in the throne room was like, I remember saying to you so many times, I was like, I can't fucking wait to just describe this thing.
Yeah, because that was something that we kind of teamed up on, because you wanted it to be a pile of bodies, and then I was like, what if it's a timeline of the third eye killing generations of hunters? And so that was kind of just like our tag team on that. But anyways.
But yeah, I mean, since this post-mortem's wrapping up anyways, I had a blast, and I'm happy that I was very grateful to be the first guest on this podcast, and I hope that whoever ends up stepping up next, hopefully it's not just me again.
Are you satisfied with your care?
I told Aiden like I was satisfied with it. I told Aiden going into it, I was like, man, I hope I don't get too emotionally connected to this guy, because it's going to really suck to watch him die. And then I got too emotionally connected to the guy, and I watched him die.
You can write fan fiction. You could be our first fan fiction.
Oh my God, I can write fan fiction about the character that I wrote.
You
Is that really fan fiction at that point? That's just fiction.
I was going to say, I think that's just fiction. I think that's just like an alternate universe. It's like a Marvel what if. It's still Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, but it will be on AO3.
True.
Just write about the final scene where it's just Max. This is going to be very out of character for me to joke about, but it's funny, so I'm going to say it anyways. It's going to of Max getting cuckolded by Third Eye and Harvester, just moaning and groaning as they thrust into each other.
I was going to say Max got fed up with all of the sexual tension between Harvester and Third Eye and decided to do some choking of his own.
It kind of reminded me of Butcher and Homelander.
It was such a like weird thing that happened, but it was just kind of, I couldn't do anything to stop it. So I was like, this is kind of funny.
But yeah, I mean, look, I think I did say that it took me a second to get into it, but I think once I got into the process of it all, that it became a lot easier. I think having we did a practice session that I don't know if you guys will ever hear. Probably. Perfect. We did a practice session that we mentioned before where Aiden basically played all three of you guys.
I want to hear that.
Voices
so
and
bad.
everything. The Max voice was so good.
Can we hear them?
Right now?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
we already know Aiden's Max voice. It's
It's just Sean.
just Sean.
It's just Sean.
Hey,
Hey.
it's me, Max.
But yeah, and I think one of the things I was like planning for was like, how is this guy going to go out? Because I wanted to I think the big thing was just like acknowledging the fact that, as much of a main character complex as I do have, that I'm really only a stepping stone and a rung on the ladder, and just kind of figuring out how I'm going to like prepare, you guys for what's up next. And I think Aiden giving you guys the magic weapons was a really good one. I think making you guys more aware that there are greater foes up ahead than the one that you just faced not only adds on to how like grand of a scheme the hunt is, but also just like how scary the next one's going to be if it was only a rung on the ladder and you guys just witnessed a third of your party die and like 3 other people die and like the entire fucking population of Which Way just being aware of who you guys are.
The entire public opinion has changed.
And I think just the world building was a lot of fun. And, looking back at all the work that Aiden and I did, like compared to where we started and how we ended, like by far completely different from what I thought it was going to be. I think the only thing that stayed the same from the first day of planning was Brand's death and it was fist fighting Max on the lake. We decided that we were going to do that fist fight probably the second day of planning. I don't even think we brought it up in the first writer's room. I want to make a special shout out to Alex, who was at the first writer's room that we did for this. We did a writer's room for like 4.5 hours with me, Alex, Prem, and Aiden, where we were just like kind of scheming about what this third eye character was going to look like. And he was going to, like, I think just overall, because, voice acting is not easy. Like, just trying to like, you guys, because I mentioned this to you, I was like, you guys have been doing this for 20 sessions, and like I was jumping in at session 15, just kind of being thrown into the deep end. You're like, it was like, yeah, you're gonna be playing like the villain. And I was like, oh, okay. How do I do that? And you were like, you're just gonna have to wing it.
Like, I am probably the worst person to ask for advice from, because like my whole mentality is wing it. And I will say, watch out for next season. I'm going to be doing way more voices because I guess we could talk about it a little bit. The one thing that we know for sure is we're going to be playing real D&D, which means fantasy ass shit.
Bigger world.
And so I'm going to do some fantasy ass voices, but like I just kind of wing all of my shit. And so like Gio, yeah, he came up to me and was like, so like, how am I going to play this villain? And I was like, how do you, this is your character. How do you want to do that? And I think it came together really, really well.
I think so too. I think Gio, you did a really good job voice acting.
I'm very happy with how the third eye turned out. And I will say, I think in the probably 4 or 5 TTRPG campaigns I've played, this is probably my favorite character I've ever played. And it's not even one that has like fucking attributes or fucking skills. I was just fucking sitting here talking and like just doing shit. And that was a lot of fun. And, I'm happy that I was able to come out of this with like something. And I hope I'm heeding warning to the next guest who comes on this podcast. Either come prepared or come ready to wing it.
Be warned.
Because whoever it is, you're in for a treat. I don't know if it's going to be as big of a role as this one was, because this was a 5 episode hunt, 4 or 5, something like that, where a lot of planning went into it. And I think just being able to kind of jump into the world and like, I think it's a conversation we had before where you were like, when Kathy was in here trying to, and like just the other person being in the room was like such a scary thing. I was really worried that like, like we weren't going to be able to get off to the start that we wanted to, because just me being put into the dynamic and kind of changing it, because, adding a person to a dynamic that's already been set for 15 episodes is going to be a very polarizing thing. I think like, I kind of just slid into it, and I was really happy that I was able to just slide into it. I think that everyone played off of my character well, and I was able to play off of their characters to the best of my ability. And I'm happy with how it went. And it was an honor to play the third eye for you guys. And I hope that out of character that you guys succeed in your future endeavors.
Yeah.
Or fucking die and collapse.
And it was so fun to have you on. And honestly, I think that you really brought up the energy in the room a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I think that's something that we will take away, and the future of the podcast will be better for having, because now we can bounce even better off of each other from that. So that's huge. And I am so glad you were able to join us for this. So,
Yay.
Jared, give Gio a mic. Billy Joel time.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Whoa, for the love Christmas time.
Whoa.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Every Which Way. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at eWhich My brother Keenan Dyer did our theme song, and at BlueJay the Hero on Instagram did our album art. Huge thanks to them for helping us with this project. We finished the hunt, we finished the postmortem, which means that is the last time you're going to be hearing Gio on the show for a hot minute. We don't have a planned guest appearance from him for anytime soon. But if you want to hear more from him, check out Bayani on Spotify. You guys know that's Bayani. And also Speakerbox Studios on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, where he and a few others discuss the music scene. Episodes have been and will continue to be weekly, and by the time you hear this, there are probably some episodes on our Patreon. So if you go into the link tree in our bio on any of our social media, you can find our Patreon where you can find some bonus episodes. There's an episode that is a playtest of a game that Jared, Noah, Sam, and I all made. The rules are very rough, as we found out in the playtest, but it made for some hilarious content. And also in our link tree, you will find the link to our Discord where you can get in touch with us and talk to us. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week for more monster hunting.